Howdy, everyone. We're on the actual podcast setup this time. Well, this is the Auburn Rat setup, and I'm also going to be using this for my main channel videos going forward, as you might know. But welcome to the real first time we're doing this properly, because the first time I did this, I sat outside with those kind of mid-ass little lapel mics that I have, and it was okay. But it's not exactly podcasting audio that you would traditionally want to hear. And then this last weekend, I actually went on a trip with some of my family, my sister and my mom, to go back to my hometown just to see the sights, see some people, all that shit that you do on standard vacations like that, I guess. And me and my sister tried to record a podcast episode because that's kind of something I want to do with this show. Is half the reason I started this is because I wanted an excuse to just talk to random people, my friends or YouTuber friends and people I find interesting and stuff like that. I just kind of want an excuse to chat with people. I don't always want this to be a solo thing because I feel it's not as interesting as a solo thing. I just kind of I like the way a conversation can flow with somebody else, and it's kind of annoying to try to keep up a podcast by myself. But anyway, that didn't really work out. Another reason these solo ones are hard is because I feel I never know what exactly I want to talk about, even though all the time I'm constantly thinking about random stupid opinions nobody cares about, just constantly walking around thinking about shit that I was yeah, I wish I could ramble this somewhere, and that's kind of why I wanted to start this podcast. But when it comes to recording it, I don't ever remember what I want to talk about. I don't feel I have anything to say. It's also very early in the morning when I'm recording this one. So I thought we kind of keep... Oh, my bad, it hit the wire, guys. I thought we kind of keep today's episode a little simple. And let's talk about... We're going to talk about horror movies again, kind of, but this time it's going to be a little bit different. Because I feel I've mentioned countless times over the years that I really love horror movies, and they're a big passion of mine, and I've always wanted to make my own horror movie, or maybe a few movies at some point. I know a lot of people might not know that because I primarily just talk about video games on my channel, but that is a big thing, that's a big interest of mine. And I actually do enjoy writing movies too. I've written a few somewhat finished drafts, I guess, of movies a couple years ago. They're okay, but I don't know, my taste in what I want to make is constantly changing, and I feel very critical about all that type of stuff that I try to make. But I'm still constantly writing down movie ideas and thinking of movie ideas, so I just kind of put them in my notes app on my phone because it's it's right there. I have a lot in here, probably over 50 different movie ideas in this fucking phone, bro. Some of them are descriptive, some of them are kind of vague, some of them have sequels even and ideas and stuff like that. So we're just gonna kind of go through some of the things on this list, and I'm gonna try to explain what the fuck it is and what my thought process was when I came up with it, or what was going on. So the one that I wrote recently, and I did kind of come up with this one when I was still drinking up in Illinois, so that might affect it, but this one is called Burn. That's just the working. A lot of these names wouldn't actually be what it is probably, but they're the running working titles that I have. So Burn, a popular reality prank show kind of similar to Punk'd, one day pulls a prank that goes horribly wrong, causing a young man to be horribly burned and sending him into a coma for 6 months. He wakes up with these strange psychic abilities and uses them to get his revenge on everybody involved in the crew and the show in general. So basically, I don't fucking know. This is kind of a strange one, but I do really like stranger horror movies, and I like writing strange horror movies, so I'm not exactly sure what this one would be, or if he would actually have psychic powers, but just something along the lines of that, where this guy's using these dark abilities he somehow has now to get horrible revenge on everybody who's involved with this production, whether it was their fault or not. He fucking lights the host of the Punk'd ripoff show. He's basically Rob Dyrdek. The show is basically going to be Punk'd mixed with... The show in question is basically going to be Punk'd mixed with ridiculousness. So like I said, he's kind of Rob Dyrdek. Him lighting the show's host on fire in front of his large audience of people or whatever to get revenge for how he felt going after other people in the crew and killing them in strange, brutal ways. But like he kind of makes it seem like an accident, like a freak accident with his psychic abilities that he has. It would more follow like the show's producer as the main character, like this somewhat down to earth, normal kind of guy in this production who remembers what the host was like before he completely lost his way, became a famous, rich, pompous asshole who likes to fucking scare the shit out of people for a living. So he's basically running around behind the scenes trying to clean this mess up, trying to figure out why all these horrible deaths are happening to people on their crew, why all these setbacks keep happening. And eventually he finds out that it is this burn victim that they caused who's causing all this problem, and he's trying to figure out how to stop him and what exactly his abilities are. Meanwhile, he's still actively murdering everybody in the crew. And for some reason, I'm picturing like Theo James in this role because I really liked him in The Monkey, and I kind of feel like he could bring this almost like tired and just fed up but somewhat down to earth kind of energy, you know, like the only normal guy on this show who constantly has to deal with arguing with people and being like, no, that idea is too far, you're a fucking idiot, we can't afford that, it's not in the budget. He's basically running this shit, but doesn't get any credit for it. But yeah, that's one I came up with recently. I think it's pretty fun. I enjoy writing those a lot. Like about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I wrote this one called Terry Through Time, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a time travel based horror movie. But the way that I had it, I wanted to try to make it somewhat unique. The way time travel worked, and it was kind of confusing, though. I'm definitely going to have to rewrite that script because I still kind of like the idea, but I don't like the execution of what I came up with. But basically the way that I had the time travel work in that story is it wasn't like normal time travel. You can only go within the range of things that you remember, like specific life memories and big moments. You can go there. Like you don't have to relive that specific life moment exactly how it happened or something, but you can only choose those moments, where places that you were present and that you saw what happened. But that doesn't mean you still can't fucking just ditch whatever place you were in at that time and go see some horrible, crazy historical event happened then or something. That's just the limitation of it. And the way it worked, it was strange. The main character that I came up with, Terry, who I pictured as Bill Hader for some reason, he's a drunken comedian, typical, kind of an asshole, a bit self-absorbed, and one day he causes I wrote this before Smile 2. I saw Smile 2, by the way, so I'm not trying to copy this. But one day he accidentally causes a car accident with him and his wife in the vehicle. And obviously his wife doesn't survive the car accident, but he does. But it leaves him a bit disfigured, and he loses all functionality in one of his eyes because it gets destroyed, basically. It has to be replaced. He has to wear a glass eye for the rest of his life after that. He finds out about time travel through this guy who basically coaxes him into it because the guy's been watching him for a while, and he is like, oh yeah, this is a good guy to pass this fucking curse of mine off to that I've been stuck with. So he takes Terry to this secluded building that he lives in, and he shows him how time travel and how it works, and it's very strange. It's like this I had this idea where it's this demonic eyeball thing. We don't exactly know what its origins are, but it's kind of like The Hand in Talk to Me. I think I was really inspired by Talk to Me when I wrote this movie. So unintentionally a little similar there. That's my bad. But yeah, there's this eye. We don't exactly know what its origins are. The way it works is that you take this gross, dried up but still kind of soggy and weird demonic eyeball thing, and he has to take out his own glass eye and put it into his eye socket to activate the time travel. And it basically puts you in this drug-like trance. And the whole time you're in this trance and experiencing the time travel through your memory, this eyeball is basically slowly taking over your mind. You just don't realize it's happening. And I kind of wrote this. 2023 was a fucking rough ass year for me, as well as 2022. And for a lot of it, if I wasn't working or something, I was just at home getting high and watching shows I'm nostalgic about or thinking about things from my past, and almost just like a zombie. I was sitting there fucking thinking about all this shit that didn't matter, you know, and wasting my life away. And that's kind of part of what made me want to write that. Write about like this type of demonic thing that makes this character, write about this thing that makes the character feel better in the moment, but is slowly destroying his mental perception of the world and taking away from his life completely. A bit dramatic for obviously, because all I was doing was just smoking too much weed. But, you know, shit can get sad sometimes. Shit can get depressing, you know? But yeah, I still like the idea, kind of. I think I'm going to rework it to be something different. I feel like I kind of just, my main problem is I didn't have like a full outline of what I wanted the whole story to be. Just kind of like the basic idea that I just explained to you was all I really thought out. So I kind of came up with it, a lot of it as I went. And I feel like, especially in the third act of the story, it just kind of devolves into like, I don't know, mediocrity. Like it's kind of predictable and not that exciting with what I could do with the premise. He just like gets stuck in this. He like gets perma stuck in it, obviously, because I feel like I was building to that. And he has two kids who are trying to help figure out how to get him unperma stuck from this fucking thing. But the guy who he stole the eyeball from, the guy who showed it to him originally, comes back for revenge, trying to kill them all. He's like holding the kids hostage. They have to like fight him off and escape from him and try to get the eye away from their dad. And it's not working the way they expected. They thought they could just like pull the eye out and he'd be fine, but he's still stuck in this like mental prison, and he has to overcome it himself, basically. It can't just be done for him. He needs to fight his way out of this mental prison that's lying to him, and everything goes all haywire. The fucking demon basically shows itself in his head, and it turns from his loving wife, who he was, that's obviously what he was going back in time for, was to see her alive. It goes from her being alive and normal to this scary demon thing, and everything starts falling apart and he has to escape from it. I don't think it's like bad or anything. I just thought it was kind of rushed and kind of predictable for what I could do with a time travel horror movie, you know. I feel like it should be something more special than that. Another idea I had somewhat recently when I was a little drunk as well was a similar idea to this, where it's like this item that the character is abusing too much in order, because it brings them good things in the moment, but then their life completely falls apart about it. And this one's running title is kind of dumb, but it's called My Dead Grandpa's Box. Basically what happens is this main character, this financially struggling young guy who, you know, he seems like your average good dude who's down on his luck. A lot of people give him shit all the time, but you're not exactly sure why. After his grandpa died, his two siblings who are older than him and more successful inherit like really good shit. Like one of them gets the grandpa's house, and one of them gets like his cars and a bunch of money. They both get like, they all kind of get heapings of money, but he gets the least amount and they get like all this crazy shit. But with his small helping of money, he is also gifted a strange wooden box from his grandpa. And every time, he can only open this wooden box once a day, but every time he opens it, it tells him, it gives him this little card basically that tells him about some great fortune that is about to happen to him or could happen to him, and how he can achieve it. He just has to make it happen. But every card on like the back or something has like a really vague downside to it, but he doesn't take it too seriously at first because it's vague and nothing seems to happen. So he keeps every day, he keeps doing these good fortunes, just making his life better and better and working harder at making his life good, because this box is basically guiding him, and he's just ignoring the backside, which has all these fucked up things on it. But eventually those start coming true. He loses his job, he loses the place that he lives, things from his past start to come up that he was hoping would be forgotten about, especially since he moved cities and whatnot. This is part of the reason people were so hard on him, we find out, is that he has, I'm not exactly sure what yet, but he has a very fucked up past. Not just like, oh, I did something kind of bad. Like, this guy is a full-blown, like, terrible person trying to recover into a good person again. Everyone knows that he used to be a bad person now. He has people coming after him. He has people upset at him. He doesn't have any money anymore. And to make matters worse, it seems like this box is trying to kill him now and the people he cares about. Every time he tries to go to someone for help, it seems like something horrible will happen that will lead to them getting sick or alienating them from them, or even just killing them brutally in the moment, like some kind of freak accident, like some Final Destination shit will just wipe them out in front of him. So he can't turn anywhere, and everybody hates him, and this box is trying to take him out, and that's basically all I have so far. But yeah, I think that one would be pretty fun if I could iron out some more of the ideas there. Because right now it is just kind of basic. I feel like it's a little what you'd expect. But I don't know. I just like stuff like that a lot. I really enjoy horror. Like, I really enjoyed The Invisible Man and Smile too, especially because those movies feel pretty similar in the sense of like you just follow this fucking person who's just going through it. Like, they've done things that are not great in their past, but it doesn't warrant what's happening to them now. Not as much Invisible Man. I kind of more mean that for Smile too. But yeah, you're just seeing this poor person go through all this horrible, horrible shit, and nobody's listening to them and taking them seriously. And that is very deeply unsettling if done right, I feel. And I've always kind of wanted to try to do something similar. This one's a silly one, okay? I told you some of these ideas are just plain silly, and this is exactly what I mean. This is one that I came up with that I just thought would be fun. And there's nothing about it. It was kind of inspired by going to see Hard Eyes recently, which I thought was super dope. But you guys know the movie There's Something About Mary, but get this, Something About Mary meets Scream, and it's going to be called There's Something About Murder. So it kind of is a similar outline to like what There's Something About Mary is. You have this guy who's trying super hard to impress this girl that he used to like in high school, he reconnected with in this big city. And meanwhile, there's a bunch of other guys who are trying to screw each other over and try to make themselves look good to this girl. But as things go on, they realize that one of the guys in question is murdering everybody. He's not just trying to murder the other dudes who are going after her. He's murdering every single person who's ever caused Mary a problem or inconvenienced her at all. He's killing like the person who took her promotion at work, or like her ex who used to treat her like shit, or even something petty like her neighbor who mows the lawn too loud early in the morning, killing that dude too with his fucking lawnmower or something. Fucking. So basically the guys have to set apart their differences, even though they're all still kind of trying to screw each other over secretly, and figure out who the fuck is killing these people and how they're going to stop them. So yeah, I guess that was kind of like me throwing my hat into the ringer when it comes to those slashers that you see a lot of these last few years, where it's like classic comedy movie but with slasher twists. There's Happy Death Day, there's Freaky, there's that Christmas one, what's it called? A Wonderful Knife, that's it. And I don't particularly love these movies, even though it's not like I hate the idea of them. I actually think the idea of taking like classic things and doing this fun little slasher spin on them is really creative, especially the Freaky Friday one. But I feel like half the time the execution of said movies just leaves a bit to be desired for me anyway. I feel like I did not really enjoy Happy Death Day at all. I thought Freaky was just kind of okay, and I don't even think I watched A Wonderful Knife. I just know of it. But yeah, part of the reason too is I wanted to make this movie is because I just want to cast these attractive, funny actors I like. We'd have Emily Farren playing this version of Mary, because I think she's a super underrated actress. And then like maybe Theo James, because I just mentioned him. I really like Theo James. Maybe he would be like the Ben Stiller kind of role, this like nerdy, down to earth kind of awkward guy who keeps just fucking embarrassing himself unintentionally. But mainly I wanted to have the butting of heads between two Hollywood pretty boys, I guess you could say. Two of those like funny himbo kind of guys, not them themselves, but sometimes the characters they play. I wanted Mason Gooding from Hard Eyes and Scream, because he's fucking great and he tears up every movie he's in. Mason Gooding going head to head with Ivan Yogia, who I feel is a super underrated actor. I think I talked about him in the last episode when I talked about the Resident Evil reboot and how he got recasted, which sucks. But I've always liked Ivan Yogia. He was really funny on Victorious when I was younger, and I feel like his film roles are pretty good too, the ones that I've seen anyway. He had a pretty funny side character in Zombieland too, and I've always personally felt like he would fit really well into a Scream movie, because you kind of know how Scream kind of seems to have this qualification, not for every actor but for a lot of them, where it's I've heard people say that it's like watching a movie filled with rejected H&M models. None of them are ever ugly. They're always at least a little attractive, if not very attractive in these movies. And I feel like Ivan Yogia could fit into that very well. He also has the charm and energy to be a very likable side character. But I feel like he should be one of those kind of side characters where it's like he's likable and charming and you're rooting for him. But also at the end, he gets revealed as one of the killers. Because I think seeing that switch from him being like his fun, charming self to like this insane serial killer would be a lot of fun and a very, very doable for Ivan Yogi. I feel like he wouldn't just rehash the like, oh, I'm crazy kind of like Stu Macher thing that everybody tries to rehash when they become a Ghostface killer. I feel like he would kind of have his own sinister energy. So yeah, definitely would love to see him in a slasher movie at some point. This one's funny, okay? I must have been on something when I wrote this because this one's just stupid. It's just movie about modern Pangea happening and sending the world into chaos. Alright, I'm gonna go use the bathroom. I'll be right back, guys. Is Super Mega not super enough for you? Do you find the slushy noobs a little too slushy? And are the Game Grumps just too damn old? Then go on down to Auburn Rats and watch two ginger boys have the times of their lives. Warning, we cannot actually guarantee that you will have the time of your life while watching Auburn Rats. Everything in this ad has been a joke. Please do not sue us. I did briefly mention earlier that I did write a couple like finished scripts or whatever a couple years ago. And Terry Through Time was one of them, but there was a few others. Let's talk about those, I guess, before we wrap up this segment. I did enjoy this so far, and I feel like I only scratched the surface, so I might do this again sometime because, I don't know, I just really like talking about this kind of stuff. But the first one that I wrote was called The Expressionless, I think. It was just a working title because I think you might know what this is, but I wanted to write like a full... almost like a full movie adaptation or like my own spin kind of on like that old expressionless Terry what the fuck story myth thing, whatever the fuck it is, like creepypasta. If you don't know what it is, it was when this woman, this pale ass expressionless woman just walked into a hospital, wouldn't speak to anybody, threw up like a fucking bird or something, and then just passed out on the ground, and they had to like They fucking hooked her up. They put her on the bed. They were like, let's see what's wrong with this chick. She starts acting all freaky and shaking and shit the whole time. Her face is still just expressionless. And eventually she turns to the doctor, bites the motherfucker's throat out of his neck, which is crazy. And as he's dying, she like looks at him and she just says, I am God. That's the whole thing. That's the whole story. I have been obsessed with the like basic premise of that since I was like 10. I think the like simplicity of like the expressionless woman just walking into the hospital and standing there while everyone just anticipated like, what the fuck is she, who is this and what is this even? It was very terrifying to me as a kid, and I still think it's like really simple but effective idea that works really well. And I kind of wanted to do my own variation of it where it was a full-blown movie and it worked a little bit differently, where she didn't just, I don't think in my script she just walked in. I think she got hit by this nurse while she was driving into work, ironically enough. So she just takes her to the hospital, and shit goes crazy from there. She kills the doctor. She gets killed herself. She gets shot in the face by a cop, and they pronounce her dead. And then in the morgue, her face basically rebuilds itself in this weird fleshy monster kind of like Slither type thing, you know? And she starts killing more people, and as she kills people, this like weird slither monster, infection, flesh monster, whatever the fuck it is that she is like spreading to other people. So she's creating like other monsters that are going around killing people and shit too. It's kind of like, it's just like your standard monster, gory slasher affair. I'm not usually that into movies that are super gory for the sake of it, so I kind of wanted to try to make one myself even. Like I know it sounds weird, but it's like, it's not traditionally something that I enjoy watching, so I wanted to see how well I'd be able to write something like that, something really gory, and how creative I could get with the kills. I thought it was pretty fun. It's heavily inspired by stuff like City of the Dead or The Beyond. Like I think I even have a direct reference to one of the kills from The Beyond, you know, the one where the corpse cuts out the tub and he like pushes that woman's head onto this nail and it like goes through her eyeball and comes like out for the front and towards it. It was fucking gross. Poor woman. I feel so bad. But I thought that was an interesting kill, so I kind of wanted to reference it. It's such a random thing, but I just thought about this now, and I wanted to know if anyone else relates. Probably. But for some reason, when I watch horror movies, I feel so much worse for women characters when they die horribly than I do for guys. Like, yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, that sucks. Nobody should go through that type of horrible death when I see something happen to a guy or whatever, especially if they were a good dude. But often or not, it's just standard fare. People die in horror movies. But for whatever reason, especially these days, whenever something like really brutal and dark happens to a woman, it kind of just puts like a sour taste in my mouth, especially when it depends on the movie, obviously, because sometimes women just be dying in movies. That happens. It's not like I have beef with the concept. I think it more comes with some of these older movies as well, like older 70s horror movies and some from the past as well, where it just feels almost mean-spirited in a way. Like horror obviously is a bit mean-spirited, I guess, but like there's a difference between a fun slasher movie, I feel, and something like Terrifier. Like sometimes, to me anyway, and this is probably just a little bit of a reach, but probably not too much, sometimes it feels like the director enjoys it a little too much when he gets to violently kill women. You know what I mean? Like some of the death scenes that you see happen to women in particular in horror movies, or some of the things in general that happen to them, it almost feels like this sense of like the person who wrote this is like has this like very bitter view of women because of some bullshit, that fucking relationship that they had in the past or something. So they almost get like off to killing them brutally and like, or punishing them almost in horror movies. I believe I've seen other people talk about that as well. In some horror movies, women aren't just like getting killed like how they do in movies. People die in horror movies. It's almost like they're being punished for whatever particular reason. Like it's the cruelty of it. It's almost like it's like being like a, yeah, that's what you get, woman, kind of thing from the writer's perspective. And when I get that vibe from a horror movie, it just really fucking kind of ruins it for me a little bit. It's like trying to watch any horror movie from the 70s and you're like, oh, this is a really tense situation. I wonder what's going to happen next. Oh, a rape scene? Okay, Jesus, that's fucking vulgar. If you don't know, a lot of older horror movies, especially, I feel, rely a lot on rape scenes, which is crazy. And before someone gets all mad at me for having a problem with rape scenes in movies and being like, well, we're not allowed to depict dark things that happen in real life, they shouldn't make war movies either. Maybe not, that's a fucking different discussion though. But like, I'm obviously not saying that you can't depict something like as dark as rape in one of your stories. You just have to do it with some class, Like you can't. I feel like rape shouldn't be one of those things that you can just lean on as a crutch, when you don't have anything else to scare the audience in that moment, because it's lazy and it's exploitative. It's just easy almost to be like, fuck, how do I make this scene scary? And then he rapes her. Like it kind of ruins the original The Hills Have Eyes for me and stuff like that. So yeah, you can cover stuff like rape in your movie, but it needs to be done with some class and some dignity. Like, it's not just a tool that you get to use. But yeah, now that I'm done with that long-ass tangent, back to what I'm saying, The Expressionless is just this crazy, brutal movie about this, like, weird parasite-type monsters taking over this hospital and killing everybody one by one in brutal fashions. And I had a lot of fun writing it, even though it's kind of a simple and, like, whatever premise or whatever. And I was just going to leave it there because I was, like, especially at the time, I was like, I don't need to do sequels to my movies, I just want to move on to the next thing. But my friend Drist, who I co-host Auburn Rats with, you might know him, he randomly suggested an idea, like a sequel idea to it, like right after I told him that I wasn't planning on writing a sequel for it. He told me a sequel idea. He thought about it while I was explaining it to him, where he was like, the main character who survives the first movie gets taken to like a police station, but unbeknownst to her, the whatever remnants of like the dead fucking parasite monsters that she just spent the night fighting comes with her, and it takes over this police station this time instead and creates like an even more chaotic and violent sequel. And I was like, dude, fuck you, because that's actually a decent idea and I'm gonna write that. I think I wrote half of it, didn't finish it, but I still do think that, like, when I think about, like, my little expressionless thing, it's still, like, 100% a duology now. Like that, those go together. I'll probably finish it at some point, maybe just for the fun of it, you know. But I did finish writing that one to write a different one. I mean, in favor of writing a different one, because I wanted to, since Expressionless is already kind of similar to like zombies in a way, I wanted to kind of write my own zombie movie that I actually like, one that was actually kind of scary and intense and like and simple, like reminds you of like the old 70s kind of horror, because I was a really big 70s horror kind of kick back then, and I still love 70s horror, and I kind of wanted this to be also in the vein of like City of the Dead type beat, you know, shit like that. I don't remember what it's called right now. I'll put the name right here when I do remember. Wait, I'm remembering now, kind of. Dead to the Slaughter, that's what it is. It's Dead to the Slaughter. And I was also considering making a sequel to this one just so I could title it Dead to the Slaughter. Like Talk to Me. I think that's such a fun title. I can't wait to see that movie when it comes out. But basically, this movie would have also starred Ivan Yogia. For some reason, I was picturing him the whole time I was writing this. I think I had just watched Resident Evil, the one he was in, and was kind of upset about how they wasted him a little bit as Leon, and wanted to kind of create a more interesting main character for him. It's kind of like that meets Evil Dead Rise, because it all takes place in one of those high rises, like a shitty rundown high rise. There's this basement, this old stone basement, and this was also like a direct reference to The Beyond, if you've seen that movie, because that's kind of the same premise, where it's like this old shitty apartment complex thing, but in the basement there's this like portal to hell. But that's not exactly what mine was. Kind of what, it was weird, but like this guy accidentally finds this long hole behind one of the walls. It just keeps going back and deep and deeper and deeper, and it's almost warm and dark in there at the same time. It's weird. And at the very end of it, he can almost hear like screaming and agony. It's almost like that other movie, like a hole directly to hell. And from that hole comes these strange zombie like beings. Like they're dead. They're dead people, and they've been dead for a while, but they can still speak for some reason, and they can still try to manipulate you and scare you, and they're like regular zombies, except they don't die. Because I thought that would be fun. The first time I ever played Resident Evil 2, like the remake, I wasn't that familiar with OG Resident Evil yet, so for like the first couple hours, I straight up did not think you could kill the zombies. I thought you could just stun them, and that scared the shit out of me, and I thought that was so cool. That's not how it works, obviously, but I thought it would be such a fun idea for something to work like that, and that's kind of part of where this script came from as well. So basically, they take over the high rise, they're killing everybody, they're building up their numbers, and then this cop and his partner go there to check out the noise and the disturbance or whatever, and this Avon Yogi and his partner's killed, and then it turns into Avon Yogia and this random woman who's still somehow alive in one of the apartments upstairs, having to work together to try to get out of this place, basically, and not get murdered by these freakish zombies. And I wrote that one too. I thought that one was pretty fun, really simple, and it wasn't meant to be anything crazy. It was just meant to be like a classic zombie movie that's actually somewhat scary in modern day, because people aren't scared of zombies that much anymore, aside from like The Last of Us or 28 Days Later, maybe 28 years later, I guess. But yeah, that was basically all that I had written back then. I do want to get back into writing more soon. I'm actually, just for the fun of it right now, writing an adaptation. I think I mentioned this in my first episode, but I'm writing an adaptation of Stephen King's Joyland just for the fun of it, just so I can ease myself back into writing again. And also because as much as it is a dream of mine to make some horror movie someday, it is also like a side goal, a side dream of mine to in turn make some kind of Stephen King adaptation movie someday. And there's a few options of things that I would love to do, like Insomnia or Joyland, like I said, is another one that I'd love to do. One of these books that doesn't get enough attention, and preferably doesn't have like an adaptation yet, because I kind of just wanted it to be like my own thing, not having to live up to like this old adaptation from like 30 years prior or something. But yeah, that's all I have to say about my horror movies today. I have, like I said, countless more things that I could go through, and I probably will at some point. But I think I'm going to end this one here for now. I did say before that I kind of want to keep these podcasts a little shorter for now. I'm thinking about moving it up to an hour at some point, but for now, I'm just kind of keeping it in like the 30-40 minute range, something like that, you know. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. I still don't have an intro and outro for this podcast, but you get the picture. Bye bye. Thanks for talking to me about my horror movies. And you know what, fucking, if you also like horror movies and stuff like that, and you like coming up with your own, please fill me in on some of your horror movie ideas or movie ideas in general. I'd love to hear them. Or if you have any ideas for how I could improve on any of the ones I shared today that I came up with, then feel free to let me know as well. I'm also open to hear what you guys think would make these more interesting. But yeah, that's basically it. Thanks again, and I hope to see you in the next episode of Brandawg's freaking broadcast, man.